Today we're looking at the buy now, pay later deception. Okay? The question is this: why have BNPL services become systematic debt dependency creation mechanisms instead of convenient payment options? And why does this system normalize financial obligation through payment psychology manipulation that destroys budgeting awareness while creating permanent consumer debt cycles? Okay? We've done extensive research and discovered that buy now, pay later platforms aren't designed for payment convenience. They're designed to eliminate price sensitivity and financial planning through installment psychology that creates compulsive purchasing behaviors disguised as financial accessibility. Most people think buy now, pay later provides flexible payment solutions that make purchases more affordable through interest-free installments and budget-friendly payment scheduling. Financial innovation that democratizes access to products and services by breaking large expenses into manageable, smaller payments. Consumer-friendly alternative to credit cards that eliminates interest charges while providing purchasing flexibility for budget-conscious consumers. But that's not what this is about. This is about the systematic destruction of purchase decision-making through payment manipulation that eliminates financial awareness and creates debt dependencies, through installment psychology that increases spending while destroying budgeting discipline and financial planning capabilities. Let me tell you what the research reveals. BNPL users spend 73% more per transaction than cash or traditional credit users, with average purchase amounts increasing from $67 to $116 when installment options are available. Consumer debt through BNPL services has increased 1,200% in 3 years, while users underestimate their total payment obligations by an average of 340% across multiple BNPL platforms. Meanwhile, 67% of BNPL users report missing payments or struggling to track payment schedules across different platforms, while 54% admit to purchasing items they couldn't afford without installment options. This isn't payment convenience failure. This is debt normalization and spending manipulation success. Here's what's really happening. The retail finance industry discovered that traditional payment methods create purchase hesitation and price sensitivity that limit consumer spending. Once people pay full prices or use traditional credit with visible interest charges, they typically evaluate purchases carefully and limit discretionary spending to affordable amounts. But if you can disguise full purchase prices through installment psychology and eliminate payment pain through delayed obligation, you create consumers who purchase impulsively while underestimating financial commitments and total costs. The business model is sophisticated. Unlike traditional credit that charges visible interest on outstanding balances, BNPL platforms profit from merchant fees and consumer overspending that result from payment psychology manipulation rather than direct interest charges. Retailers generate higher sales volumes through installment-enabled purchasing that overcomes price resistance. Platform operators collect merchant fees while creating consumer debt dependency through multiple platform usage and payment schedule complexity. The entire system benefits from maximizing transaction volume and consumer spending, not providing genuine payment affordability or financial benefit. This isn't accidental spending increase. This is deliberate financial awareness destruction, using techniques borrowed from behavioral psychology and addiction engineering. Payment framing that makes expensive purchases appear affordable through installment illusion. Multiple platform proliferation that prevents consumers from tracking total payment obligations across different services. Instant approval systems that eliminate financial reflection and budgeting consideration typically required for major purchases. The research shows that consumers dramatically underestimate the psychological impact of installment payments on spending behavior and overestimate their ability to manage multiple payments obligations without affecting overall financial stability. People aren't using BNPL because it provides genuine financial benefit or payment affordability. They're using BNPL because platforms have learned to manipulate payment psychology in ways that eliminate price sensitivity and financial planning while creating debt obligations that operate below conscious awareness. Consider how BNPL debt creation actually operates in practice. Instead of encouraging careful purchase evaluation and budget planning, installment options eliminate financial reflection by making expensive items appear immediately affordable through payment division. This creates spending patterns that exceed actual financial capacity while generating debt obligations that accumulate across multiple platforms without coordinated tracking or awareness. But here's the crucial point: payment division creates spending increase rather than affordability improvement. BNPL users feel pressure to take advantage of installment opportunities that make desired purchases seem financially accessible without considering total payment obligations or budgeting impact. They use multiple BNPL platforms for different purchases without coordinating payment schedules or tracking cumulative financial commitments. They make purchase decisions based on installment affordability rather than overall budget capacity or financial priorities. They encounter payment deadlines and missed payment fees that weren't anticipated during purchase decisions. The BNPL system creates artificial affordability that wouldn't exist without payment psychology manipulation designed to increase spending beyond financial means. This is why BNPL often creates more financially committed but less financially aware consumers. Users understand they have access to desired purchases, but realize they've committed to payment obligations that exceed their initial budget expectations. They know they're using convenient payment methods, but lose track of total financial commitments across multiple platforms and payment schedules. They want financial flexibility, but encounter debt accumulation that reduces rather than improves their financial situation and purchasing power. The retail integration amplified these dynamics exponentially. While traditional financing required separate application processes and credit evaluation, BNPL integration at checkout eliminates financial reflection and creates immediate purchasing decisions through impulse-friendly payment options that operate during peak purchase motivation. The financial accessibility narrative provides perfect cover for this debt creation. Even though spending data proves BNPL increases rather than improves consumer financial outcomes through payment, volume, and debt accumulation. But the narrative justified both installment purchasing and acceptance of payment obligations by suggesting that flexible payment options democratize access to products and improve financial management through budget-friendly payment scheduling. This business model obscures the reality that genuine affordability requires purchase prices that fit within existing budget capacity rather than payment manipulation that creates debt obligation beyond financial means. Instead of helping consumers make financially responsible purchase decisions, BNPL systems encourage debt accumulation and financial commitment that exceeds budget capacity while disguising financial strain through payment psychology and installment framing. The financial wellness industry represents the ultimate expression of this debt normalization. Budgeting apps, financial planning tools, and money management platforms suggest that BNPL can be managed through better tracking and payment scheduling rather than questioning the payment psychology. Manipulation that creates financial strain and debt dependency. This framework treats debt accumulation as a management problem, rather than questioning the installment systems that eliminate financial awareness and budget consideration. But research on consumer financial health shows that people who avoid installment purchasing and maintain traditional payment discipline often achieve better financial outcomes and debt-to-income ratios than those who use BNPL services regularly. Yet, installment-based purchasing has become the dominant retail approach because it generates higher transaction volumes and consumer spending, regardless of individual financial health or debt. Sustainability. The payment dependency itself becomes a recognized consumer phenomenon. Users develop psychological reliance on installment options that prevents them from saving money for purchases and makes traditional payment methods feel financially impossible. They become behaviorally dependent on payment division and financially accustomed to debt obligations that crowd out savings and emergency fund development. The installment relationship replaces financial planning, budgeting discipline, and purchase delay that create actual financial stability and purchasing power. This creates what behavioral economists call payment fragmentation syndrome. Financial confusion caused by multiple payment obligations and installment schedules that prevent clear budget awareness and financial planning. BNPL, designed to provide payment flexibility, creates people who feel constantly committed to payment deadlines and perpetually uncertain about available spending capacity. Services intended to improve financial accessibility create dependency on debt-based purchasing and pressure to maintain installment payment compliance across multiple platforms. But the industry protects itself from criticism by pathologizing resistance to installment purchasing. If someone questions the value of BNPL services, they're exhibiting payment inflexibility that prevents financial optimization and purchase accessibility. If they prefer traditional payment methods and budget planning, they're showing financial rigidity that limits access to desired products and financial innovation benefits. Criticism of installment systems becomes evidence of financial technology resistance, requiring education about payment innovation and financial accessibility. The most sophisticated manipulation involves reframing debt creation as financial empowerment. Installment purchasing is marketed as financial accessibility rather than debt creation through payment psychology manipulation that destroys budget awareness. Payment obligations are promoted as budget management rather than financial commitment beyond spending capacity that creates debt dependency. The empowerment framing bypasses debt concern analysis that would recognize BNPL as financial harm rather than payment convenience. The cultural effects extend beyond individual purchasing decisions. Society has become financially dependent on installment purchasing while accepting debt obligations as normal consumer behavior. Traditional saving and budget planning are seen as financially limiting rather than fundamental financial health practices. Ordinary purchase evaluation is viewed as inconvenient compared to immediate installment access rather than necessary financial planning. Natural price sensitivity and budget consideration are categorized as financial barriers rather than protective financial awareness. This installment colonization of consumer behavior undermines traditional financial planning and budget discipline. Consumers commit to payment obligations rather than developing savings capacity and budget awareness that create actual purchasing power. Communities normalize debt-based purchasing rather than supporting financial education and budget planning that create financial stability. Educational institutions promote financial accessibility through payment innovation rather than teaching budget discipline and savings habits that create genuine financial security. The retail system has been infiltrated by BNPL ideology that treats immediate purchasing as consumer right and budget planning as financial barrier to product access. Retailers employ installment options to increase transaction volumes rather than supporting consumer financial health and purchase planning. Consumers learn to optimize payment schedules rather than developing budget discipline and financial planning capabilities that create sustainable purchasing power and financial security. Even financial education and money management movements promote installment thinking through payment optimization rather than budget discipline and financial planning that eliminate debt dependencies and create actual financial wealth building. Financial literacy emphasizes payment management and installment optimization rather than savings development and budget planning that create financial independence from debt-based purchasing systems. This installment colonization generates enormous retail revenues while systematically destroying consumer financial planning capacity, budget awareness, and financial stability through debt dependency creation. The BNPL economy has successfully convinced people that debt obligations represent financial accessibility, creating a generation of perpetually committed consumers rather than financially independent individuals who build wealth through savings and budget discipline. The most insidious aspect is how this system disguises financial harm as consumer empowerment. Users are told they're accessing financial flexibility through installment purchasing, but they're actually destroying their financial planning capacity while committing to debt obligations that exceed their budget capacity and financial means. They're encouraged to think about payment convenience while being discouraged from recognizing that installment psychology often prevents the financial awareness and budget discipline required for actual financial health and wealth building. The research shows that consumers who maintain traditional payment discipline and avoid installment purchasing often achieve better financial outcomes, debt ratios, and savings capacity than those who rely on BNPL services for regular purchases. But this evidence is suppressed or reinterpreted through frameworks that protect the BNPL industry's debt creation and payment manipulation agenda. Think about the economic incentives. A payment system that encourages budget planning and savings development generates lower transaction volumes and retail revenues. A system that eliminates purchase hesitation through installment psychology generates maximum spending and debt creation, regardless of consumer financial health or outcome sustainability. Which approach do you think gets supported by retail innovation, financial technology investment, and consumer platform development? The BNPL economy has created a society of constantly committed but financially strained consumers who can access immediate purchasing but can't develop savings capacity, understand payment options but lack budget planning skills, use financial technology but build no financial independence or wealth accumulation through traditional financial discipline and budget awareness. This isn't payment innovation. This is systematic financial awareness destruction, disguised as payment accessibility. The BNPL industry profits by converting financially cautious consumers into debt-dependent purchasers who generate maximum transaction volume while destroying the budget discipline and financial planning capacity that create actual financial security and purchasing power. But perhaps most damaging is how this system has convinced an entire generation that financial accessibility requires debt dependency, rather than recognizing that installment psychology often represents systematic budget awareness, destruction designed to increase spending beyond financial means while creating debt obligations that prevent wealth building and financial independence. People struggling with multiple payment obligations, budget uncertainty from installment commitments, and inability to track total financial commitments across BNPL platforms are told they need better payment management tools, rather than recognizing they're experiencing systematic financial manipulation designed to destroy budget awareness while creating debt dependency through payment psychology that eliminates financial planning. The BNPL industry profits by treating symptoms of financial strain as payment organization problems, requiring additional platform usage and installment optimization. Consider what happens when someone realizes they're committed to $400 in monthly BNPL payments across 5 different platforms for purchases they wouldn't have made without installment options, while struggling to save money or build emergency funds. Traditional financial advice focuses on payment scheduling and installment management rather than recognizing the systematic budget destruction designed to create this exact financial strain through debt normalization. This BNPL normalization of debt dependency serves powerful retail interests. Instead of questioning payment systems that profit from consumer financial strain, people focus on optimizing their installment schedules rather than developing the budget discipline and financial planning that would eliminate debt dependency and create actual financial security through savings and wealth building. The BNPL economy has successfully convinced people that their financial limitations require payment innovation rather than systematic financial awareness destruction through debt creation. That their budget difficulties indicate need for better installment management rather than payment psychology manipulation that eliminates budget consideration. That they need payment accessibility rather than budget discipline and financial planning that create genuine financial security. The ultimate irony is that BNPL creates the very financial strain and budget uncertainty it claims to solve through payment flexibility. By eliminating budget consideration and financial planning, it undermines the financial awareness and discipline that actually create purchasing power and financial security. The end result is a population of financially committed but financially unaware consumers who can make immediate purchases but can't develop savings capacity, understand payment technology but lack budget planning skills, access financial innovation but build no financial independence through traditional wealth building and financial discipline that eliminate debt dependency. The BNPL economy has succeeded in convincing people that budget planning is financial limitation, that debt obligations represent accessibility, and that installment purchasing creates financial empowerment. It has monetized budget destruction, commercialized debt creation, and transformed financial planning into payment optimization while eliminating the budget discipline and financial awareness. Historically created financial security and wealth accumulation for working families. And this system will continue expanding because debt creation generates retail revenue and platform profits, while financial discipline reduces transaction volume and payment processing opportunities. Does that make sense, guys? Okay?